So, Ken, in the legal world, I often hear the term without prejudice. What does that actually mean?
That's a brilliant question. It's often a misunderstood term. So what it actually means is it's a label that you can apply to communications where the correspondence that you're entering into can't be used against you in a later court case. So it's a public policy to enable you to talk freely and to discuss your dispute with your opposing party in a manner that is conducive to settling the case, without the fear that it might be taken as being some kind of admission or something that could be used against you in court.
Right, okay. And will I definitely be protected under that?
Well, it has to be a genuine attempt to settle. So merely labelling something as without prejudice won't give you the protection if it's not. So you can't, for example, bury bad news in correspondence and label it without prejudice, hoping that that then can't be used against you. So it would have to be a bona fide attempt to try and negotiate and settle a dispute.
Right, okay. And are there any cases where I wouldn't want my communication to be protected?
Yes, if you want to rely on it in court, then, for example, you might be writing to try and settle a case, but also have some kind of legal argument that you want to rely on. Well, if you put that in the without prejudice correspondence, now it's going to be more difficult to bring that to the court's attention if you want to. So the recommendation would definitely be to write that in a separate non-without prejudice letter that you can follow up with.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. And what does it mean when communication is marked without prejudice as to save costs?
So the save us to cost part is added in. It's a kind of an exception. So what it's saying is, yes, what I'm explaining to you is without prejudice and can't be relied on in court. But the word save us to cost means that you can bring it to the court's attention after the court's already made its decision on liability and causation, what we call liability and causation. So once the judge has decided who's to blame, and what amount should be paid, if any, to the other party. At that point, you can then bring up an offer that you've made. So, for example, you could say, "Oh, well, okay, the claimant may have won £50,000, but I actually offered £60,000 at the beginning of the case, and without prejudice, save us to cost correspondence, and therefore." That you can use that as an argument either to ask for costs to be awarded to you or for less costs to be awarded for the other person.
Okay, brilliant. And just one more question. What does it mean when communication is marked without prejudice subject to contract?
So what subject to contract basically means is that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. So for example, I might be putting forward an offer, a settlement offer of £20,000, but if I mark it subject to contract, that's not actually binding on me, even though I've made the offer, and even if it's accepted, until such time as there is a written document, usually a settlement agreement of some kind, where all the terms of the settlement are set out. So until such time as all the details of your settlement are agreed, then there isn't a binding agreement, and either side can pull out of the deal.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.